What can I do? I tried. I can't do more than that. I tried.
Okay? Clearly, this was the test.
Out. So the Shulchan Aruch says in Shin Lamed Ches, Hashmaz Koil B'Kli Shir Aser. It's also to use a Hashmaz Koil of a Klei Shir. You know, it's something that is a musical instrument. Aval hakish ala deles, but to knock on the door. Kayetzi b'zeh. Because ain't a derech shir if you're knocking on the door without a rhythm, like we keep on saying. So then that's mutter. Then the kind of, like we said, if you whistle, that's mutter. Okay, so it comes out that we pass in Malacha that there's no isser to bang. There's no isser stam to bang. It's only an isser if you're banging in a rhythmic fashion. But if you start banging or making some type of a noise, so then it's not usher. So shtickle sarchian. I'm not sure. Not so sure what to do about this. I must admit, if anybody has an answer, there's a Mishnah Brew over here, but I'm not sure what to do with it. Mishnah Brew and Sivkat and Test. What should come out if I would ask you? Are you allowed to snap your fingers on Shabbos? And Mishnah Brew is not by us. It's not by Shin Lamed Ches. It's in Shin Lamed Tes. So Mishnah Brew over there in Sivkat and Test. Mishnah Brew talks about snapping your fingers. And as clapping hands is obviously, if you're clapping in a rhythm, that's a problem. If you're clapping not in a rhythm, then that's what's mutter. So what's the din about snapping fingers? Well, what should be? So say you want to get someone's attention, you just want to snap his finger. So what should be? So it depends. If you're snapping to get his attention, it should be mutter, right? Push it, right? And let's say you're snapping to a rhythm or to a beat. So then what should be? It should be asir, right? Did I just say what's push it or no? It's push it, right? You can't even. And so it's a very interesting. In the Trumas Hadeshen, the Trumas Hadeshen, he has a whole tshuva about this shaila, about snapping fingers. See, Mamish, what was the most important thing by the Rishonim was he wants to know about snapping fingers. So there he writes that to snap fingers on Shabbos is mutter. He doesn't tell you what he's talking about. He just says when you're snapping fingers on Shabbos, you're allowed to snap your fingers on Shabbos. So what's the reason why you're allowed to snap your fingers on Shabbos? So he says, look, whatever you want, but it's a Mefurish Gemara. Whatever you want to say, if you have a problem or not, but it's a Mefurish Gemara. What's the Gemara Mefurish? Some of the Olim is probably learning Yuma now. No, it's the Daf Yomi. So it's probably not up to that. It's a Gemara Yuma. I think it's on your test or something. Where's Daf Yomi? Like test. Okay, so in another 10 days, you'll impress your chavrusa that. Over there in Yuma and Daf test, you have to keep the Kohen Gadol up the whole night because they're afraid they can have carry or whatever. So they keep him up the whole night. How are you going to keep him up the whole night? It's not so easy. So the Mishnah says you start learning with him, but everyone knows what happens when you start that. So they try to learn with him Agadata, but even that sometimes you can fall asleep. So the Mishnah says over there that the Gemara says that they would be makabeh etzbesreda, they would snap the finger lach, and that's how they would wake up the Kohen. By snapping the finger. That's what it says in the Gemara. So the Trumas Hadeshen says, so whatever you're going to say, but it's a Mefurish Gemara that you're allowed to snap fingers on Shabbos. That is a Mefurish Gemara. It says you're allowed to snap your fingers on Shabbos, on Yom Kippur. Oh, so right away the Trumas Hadeshen says, Elamai, what are you going to say? Ein shvus b'mikdash. Like Rabbi Khan says, because he's a Kohen, so he knows from these things very well. He says, well, what do you mean? Ein shvus b'mikdash. That's what he learns Mistama, like the Chafetz Chaim writes, that Kohanim are supposed to learn the Hilchos of the Beis HaMikdash, of the Kachim, of Kohanim in general, and all Korbanos. Tikkazachan to you Mistama, Rabbi Yedekin. You probably have a chavrusa because you have to learn these things. It's your responsibility. It shows your tzpiyah for the Mashiach and everything. Anyways, so he says, what do you mean? The most aleph base of all the halachas is Ein shvus b'mikdash. So over here, what's the raya? They were snapping. The only thing that snapping could possibly be is the Rabbanon. So we should say Ein shvus b'mikdash. So that the Trumas Hadeshen says, he says that's a kasha. Then the Gemara should have said it. The Gemara should have said that they're snapping the fingers, and the Gemara should have asked the kasha that why are you allowed to snap fingers? And like the Gemara, in many places, the Gemara should have answered Ein shvus b'mikdash. So if the Gemara doesn't say that, it must be it was pashut that you're allowed to snap your fingers on Shabbos and Yom Tov, Yom Kippur, whatever. As I saw the Trumas Hadeshen, comes again the Magen Avram and the others in Achad Tzvi, they go on this Trumas Hadeshen and they say, well, already the Beis Yosef already goes. The Beis Yosef says, the Trumas Hadeshen says a chiddush, you're allowed to snap your fingers. He says, but you should know the Rambam says not like that. The Rambam doesn't sound like that. The Rambam holds you can't snap your fingers. The Beis Yosef says that you can't snap your fingers on Shabbos, Yom Tov, whatever. And he says, the Trumas Hadeshen brought a raya, because the Kohen Gadol. So he says you could be daicha the raya. He doesn't explain how. How could you be daicha the raya? So because Ein Shvus B'Mikdash, you say Ein Shvus B'Mikdash, it doesn't say in the Gemara, okay, Nish Geferlich. So it's a machlekes, Rambam and the Trumas Hadeshin, if you're allowed to snap your fingers. So comes again some of the Achreinim, and they say, what? Now listen, why do you have to make a machlekes? Why make a machlekes? Let everybody be friendly. And you'll say like this, the Trumas Hadeshin, he's talking about that you're snapping it, Shaloi K'derech Shir, right? You're just snapping somebody to get his attention. You want to just snap, hey, wake up, snap, wake up. So then that's okay. That's okay on Shabbos. And that's the raya from the Kohen Gadol, talking the Beis HaMikdash. They were just snapping to wake him up and to get his attention. And that's mutter. That's mutter. And Mashain came, the Rambam, that he says you're not allowed to snap your finger lach. So what's he talking about? He's talking when you're doing it to a rhythm, you're doing it to a beat. And on that, that's going to be like clapping, that you're not allowed to clap to a beat, you're not allowed to snap to a beat, etc., etc. So why make a machlekes? That's what a lot of the Achrayim say. That's a lot of the Achrayim say. Maisa, what would be the kasha if you say that pshat? What's the pshat? What? So then what's the chiddush of the Trumas Hadeshin? Why does the Trumas Hadeshin have to come and tell me that you're allowed to snap your fingers in Shabbos? I know that's a whole Gemara in Erevin. We pass in the Maskanas Gemara. I said we pass in that you're allowed to clap and wake people up. You're allowed to, like we keep on saying, you're allowed to clap after a drasha. You're allowed to go ding, ding, ding in order to get everybody's attention. You're allowed to clap. Hey, it doesn't. We don't hold the Ludei Kala. That's the Gemara in Erevin. That there's a man Damar Ula that he paskins taka maybe Ludei Kala. You're not allowed to make noise on Shabbos and Yontif. We paskin that you are allowed to make noise on Yontif and Shabbos. So when the Trumas Hadeshin is discussing if you're allowed to snap fingers to wake people up, so what's he bringing from a Gemara in Yuma, like no shayches? He should bring the Gemara in Erevin, and he should decide based on that Gemara. If he wants to say that it's aser, let him say we hold it's aser because there's a Gemara in Erevin that says it's aser. If you want to say it's mutter, tell him we don't pass him like that man damer in the Gemara. But what's he bringing from a Gemara in Yuma, from a Kohen Gadol? And what's takab shah? Pella. It's a pella. It's not mistapa that the Trumas Hadeshin is telling me that I'm allowed to snap. It's a gewaldige chiddush that I could snap to wake you up. That's a chiddush. But Bemis, what's the pshat taka? What's the pshat? Maisa. So what is the Trumas Hadeshin saying? So Trumas Hadeshin is taka saying that you're allowed to snap your fingers in order to with a clay shear, with a melody, with a rhythm, with a beat. It must be that's what he's coming to say, and therefore he couldn't bring it from Erevin. Because over there, taka, you don't see anything about that. So you have to say that what's taka pshat though? Derech Agav, what's the pshat? I mean, you're not allowed to clap to a beat, and you're not allowed to clap to a rhythm and things like that. So I don't know. Anybody know pshat? I don't know. That's why Trumas Hadeshin had to bring a raya. It's taka chiddush. Maybe the Gemara says mitapchin. The Gemara says you're not allowed to clap to a beat and a rhythm. And the Trumas Hadeshin says that vaistai snapping is not. I grata. What's the pshat taka? Why is it that by the Kohen Gadol, why wouldn't they go like this? So the Mefarshim explain it's pasnish to go to the Kohen Gadol like that to wake up. That's pasnish. So in the stomach they did it in a way where it was, a little bit to wake him up. Bakavadik azah, right? They were trying to wake him. They were bakavadik. They were doing it bakavadik, and that's why they did it to a rhythm. So that the Trumas Hadeshin brings a raya that with a rhythm is taka mutter because that's mistama. They did it by the Kohen Gadol, and it's not al Ein Shvus B'Mikdash, because the Gemara didn't say it. And Alpha Pikin, it's mutter. And on that, the Rambam argues. The Rambam says, no, you don't have a raya from the Gemara. Why not? Because it's really al Ein Shvus B'Mikdash. Adkan is the Dvarim Pshutim. Good? Clear? No. What? That's the other Kahana, not the Kohen Gadol. That was the other one. That's the Gemara in Talmud, and that's Gemara. That's a different. Because those guys, it wasn't like they didn't have like it was not like a real beating and thing. It was like a little bit like what? So what's a chiddush? Wait, slow. I didn't get the Mishabura. I'm going in order. 1 minute. That's part of the problem. Okay. Come to gain the. That's clear. Now I'm getting there now. That's the whole problem of him. Come to gain the Hilchos Shabbos. And the Hilchos Shabbos, Hilchos Shabbos, one of the great Achrayim. So the Hilchos Shabbos, he brings down that maybe Taka Rashi is not like this. Maybe Rashi is not like this. Trumas Hadeshin. Again, what did Trumas Hadeshin say? Trumas Hadeshin says that you're allowed to snap your fingers. He seems to be saying even boifin shir. Right? That's what when the dust settles, he seems to be saying even by a melody and a rhythm in order to make a beat, you're allowed to. What's the pshat? I don't know what's the pshat. Why is it not like clapping with a rhythm? I don't know, but that's what they did for the Kohen Gadol. So there's a raya, and it's not mistaken. The Kohen Gadol were just going, hey, like that to wake up. It's pasnish. They probably did it with a rhythm, and vice versa. And they didn't say in Shvus V'Mikdash. So the Trumas Hadeshin told it's mutter. The Rambam holds it's not mutter. And what could you do? But what should be? if you want to just snap your fingers to wake somebody up. Nobody ever asked it. That's Adkan so far, what comes out, right? Nobody ever asked it going like this, except for maybe a mandamer in the Gemara. But we don't paskin like that, mandamer in the Gemara. Comes again to Hilchos Shabbos, and he says, Rashi's maybe not like this. Because Taka Rashi is a little bit of a pella. Rashi says that they would be makeh be'etzbat sreida. They would be makeh with their etzbat sreida in order to wake up the Kohen Gadol. So Rashi says, what's an etzbat sreida? So Rashi says they would take the index finger. I think this is the index, right? Not the middle one. I won't show that one. But they would take their index finger and they would snap. Try to snap with your index finger. It's not so easy. You have to be, it's not so easy. You have to work harder, right? Why didn't Rashi just say like this? Why don't you just say simply to use your index, your middle finger, right? What's the shot? So Zok the Hilchos Shabbos, he's bedavka trying to tell you to do it with a shinui. That's what Rashi wants you to do. We know that when it comes to be clapping and all these things, you're allowed to do it with a shinui. You're allowed to do it kalach yad. So he's trying to tell you, you did it very well, but if you don't mind stopping. Yeah. When it comes to clapping, you're allowed to clap kalach yad. That's mefurish in halacha that you're allowed to clap kalach yad. Comes again Rashi, and Rashi says that you're allowed to snap for the Kohen Gadol. How? Kalach yad. So what's Rashi coming to say? Rashi's going to say, Deloy katrumas adasha. That's what the Hilchos Shabbos says, that when you're snapping your fingers to wake up the Kohen Gadol, why did Rashi say do it with the middle finger, with the index finger, not do it with the middle finger? Must be because Rashi wants you bedavka to do it in a way where it's a ksas shino, it's more difficult, because you're not supposed to be doing it in the way of the normal. You're supposed to be doing it kalach hayad, just like we find the heter ready to clap kalach hayad. Adkan. Simple what I said. So what should come out? Allah l'maisa, based on what I just said. Are you allowed to snap your fingers in a melody way? No, because either the Rambam asers or the Rashi asers, but you're not allowed to do it in a melody way. Okay, are you allowed to snap your fingers kilach yad in a melody way? Yes, that's what Rashi learns the Gemara. We probably would have known that anyways, because if you can clap kilach yad, so everybody would have known also that you could probably snap kilach yad, right? So far simple. Am I allowed to snap my fingers in order to wake somebody up stam without a beater? I could say, no, Rabbi say, like that, right? Can I do that? So what's the answer? Yes. Because that you're allowed to clap in a non-melody way, so you'll be allowed to snap in a non-melody way. Very simple, everything I said? Yeah? Is there anybody, before I say, is there any problem with what I said? What? No, it's not the first in the Gemara, but that's the way the Trumas Session is learning. Again, I'm not saying there's no reason to learn like that. Why should we learn like that? No, I'm saying we pass in the halacha that you're allowed to make noise on Shabbos. Why should we learn like that? There's no reason to learn like that, right? I mean, I'm saying nobody says that. The Hilchos Shabbos definitely doesn't say that. The Rambam is certainly not saying that. The Trumas Hadeshen is not saying that. Nobody in the world said that. The Mogen Avram didn't say that. There's no reason to say that. What? According to Rashi, what? Again, but waking up, that was what everybody said. The Trumas Hadeshen said it's not past that they would wake him up. The way they learned the Trumas Hadeshen, nobody argues on this. It's not past. What? Who? No, again, the Trumas Hadeshen says that you're allowed to snap your fingers on Shabbos. The Achreinim learned he meant Kederech Shir. The Beis Yosef learns he means Kederech Shir, and he learns you're allowed to do it even normal without Kalach Hayad. So on that, Rashi's not like that. Comes again to Hilchos Shabbos. Says no, she's not like that. Hainu, Rashi's holding that Avadi was doing it in a melody because Pasnish to do it without a melody. And how is he doing it? It's not Pashup Shad. He's doing it in a Shena way, but he's doing it Kalach Hayad. Right? The Rabbi is saying, without the Trumas Hadeshen, without the Rambam, without everything I said today, this is how everybody here would have said, right? That when you snap your fingers in a melody, aser. When you snap your fingers stam, not in a melody, mutter. When you snap your fingers in a melody, kilach yad, mutter, right? Everybody would have said that. I'm just showing you today that the Dvarim Amirim, it works out Gavaldik. The only one that's a Chiddush is the Trumas Hadeshen. He had a Chiddush that he wants to say. A Chiddush, you have to know what's the pshat. He wanted to learn from the Gemara. You could be matcha what he's saying. In the Halacha L'Maisa should come out like we said. That's what the Hilchos Shabbos says. That's what the Achreinim seem to say. Sorry? Again, you have a kasha on that Trumas Hadeshen, but that's what the Trumas Hadeshen says. I'm not getting involved in that. They say because it pasnish. Again, they wanted to say maybe the machlekes Trumas Hadeshen and the Rambam is he's talking about one thing, he's talking about nothing, and there's no machlekes at all, right? Sorry. It
makes much more sense to say that Rashi holds that it has to be kalach any way you do it.
I don't understand why you say that. It makes absolutely no sense to say that. Why would anyone say that? We hold it's mutter on Shabbos to clap after a drasha. We hold it's mutter to clap to wake someone up. So why in the world should snapping to wake somebody up be any different? What are you talking about? They all say, it's on my word, the Hilchos Shabbos, it's pashut what I'm saying. It's not a chiddush. Again, are you allowed to clap to wake somebody up? Yes. Are you allowed to clap normally to wake somebody else? Yes. Are you allowed to clap to get people's attention? Yes. That's how we paskin. We don't paskin like the going helch can't wake people up by clapping. You can't make noise and shout. We paskin not like that. It's pashut. It's pashut. So now the Truma said. So there's a lot of chidushim here. The Truma Zadashim want to say that you could snap to a melody. It's tamua. It's okay. He knows he's tamua. Therefore, he had to bring a raya from the Gemara, from the Kohen Gadol. Just that raya, you could be doicha. Okay, it's very shooting, Rabbi said. But the Maisa, the Pele Gedoyla is that the Mishabura is not like this. It's Mishabura Sarchin Gadol. I don't know. I have no idea how the Mishabura learned. The Mishabura says over here in Tzivkat and Tess, it's not good Pella. I don't know. This is by me is one of the 10 biggest playim in the whole Sefer, a whole bunch of Mishabura. I have no answer to this. Mishabura Shalom Tess. He says your echos keneged. It's going on the Shulchan Aruch. And Shulchan Aruch talks about not snapping your fingers on Shabbos, and he says kiderech hamashayirim. Derech agav. You could learn what's it mean. Shulchan Aruch says you're not allowed to snap your fingers. Kiderech hamashayirim. So now, you don't know what the Shulchan Aruch means. Maybe the Shulchan Aruch is just telling you, he doesn't mean with a melody. He just means the way those that when they snap their fingers, snap for a melody. That's what I mean. But maybe he's answering even not for a melody, But then that the Mishabura says, no. Kigoyin elu that they snap their fingers, bin ni'ima. They snap it with a melody. The oisin bezetznues arevis. That's the Beis Yosef. They snap to a melody. That's what you're not allowed to do on Shabbos. That's the Beis Yosef. The Beis Yosef says you're not allowed to snap your fingers to a melody, but you are allowed to snap your fingers not to a melody. So he says, that's what it means, kederech hamashayirim. It doesn't mean that just trying to tell you how to snap, like the way the Mashayir. No, it means kipshuta. It has to be that they're doing it in order to make a melody. So he says, but if you do it to wake up your friend, mashman the Magen Avram, the shari, the lav derech shiru, like the way we just explained everything, that if you're doing it stam, it's mutter, because it's not a derech shir. Right? Achein, lefi, mashikasav in the Hilchos Shabbos and the Shitas Rashi, but lefi, the way the Hilchos Shabbos learned in Rashi, so then, gam bezei shbi machmer, came mashim the Pri Megadim. But a way, if you're learning Hilchos Shabbos, the way he learns Rashi, so then if you're snapping your fingers stam, even that's aser. The way he learned Rashi. What Hilchos Shabbos, what Rashi, what's the Mishabura talking about? Sarchin Gadol. What's he talking about? There's no Hilchos Shabbos like this, no Rashi like this. Hilchos Shabbos just says one thing. He says, why did Rashi say do it with a shinoi? Rashi said do it with a shinoi simply because Rashi was trying to bavor to get out of the Trumas Hadashin. That's what Hilchos Shabbos says. He's trying to get out of the Trumas Hadashin. So Computer is learning the same way that everybody learned until now. That the Trumas Hadashin was talking about a klei shir, a melody type of a fashion. And on that, the Trumas Hadashin gave a hefter. On that, Rashi agrees with the Trumas Hadashin. We have no reason to, otherwise, why would even Rashi be saying this? The kids said this thing is tamua, mamish tamua, and no hesber in this. How could it be? How could it be worse than clapping? The Trumas Hadashin says snapping your fingers is better than clapping. You're allowed to snap to a melody. Okay, that we won't accept. But it's going to be worse? It's tamua. It's mamish pella. I have no pshat. Whoever gets pshat in this, what should I give him? I'll give him, I have a lot of water today, right? I'll give him my car because it's worth my car. My car, it's probably worth more than my car. But the Pri Megadim, it does sound a little bit like it's the same kasha. It's worse. The Mishabura is a bit worse, but I don't know. Anybody have a shot? Rabbi Shved? You don't want my car? Yeah. I'm not trying to figure out. Wait, I'm not trying to figure out why in Svara I could deal with if somebody. But how in the world did he learn the Hilchos Shabbos? The Hilchos Shabbos is not like that. In Svara, I don't know. I find it to be intriguing. The Trumas Hadashin said that snapping is better and more kuladik. Comes again the Mishnah Berurah, and he says no, snapping is so much worse. You're not even allowed to do a klach hayad. The biggest chumrah in the entire sugya. This is the biggest chumrah in the entire sugya. The biggest chumrah in the entire sugya is that you're not allowed to snap even without a melody. It's pashut tamua. I have no. It's mamish. There's no hezbollah in this. I don't know. Like that. It's Sarchin Gadol. Not everything has an answer. Not everything in life has an answer. Like that. What? What's the psak? I don't know. How could you do against the Mishnah Berurah? I don't know. Like that. No. The Mishnah Berurah says over here achein. In the Mishnah Berurah, yes, there's different words that the Mishnah Berurah says. Sometimes the Mishnah Berurah says aval. Aval the Mishnah Berurah is a psak. If the Mishnah Berurah says something, and then afterward he says, aval, however, I saw in a certain sefer not like that, so then that means that's a psak. Here he doesn't say aval. He says achein. Achein, the Mishnah Berurah, I don't know, like that. And he also says, Kam b'zeh yesh lahachmir. I don't know. I said it wrong. I'm just making sure everyone understands. I said one thing wrong. The Mishnah Berurah is saying that you can't snap regular. You can't snap regular unless you do it kalachar yad. I think I said it wrong when I made the sikum just now. Again, to snap with a melody, that you definitely shouldn't do. Okay? To snap kalachar yad, that sounds like everybody's makel. The question is, what about snapping regular, not with a melody, not kalachar yad? Are you allowed to do that? That the Mishnah Berurah says, achein is mashmois, it's aser, and the pashtis of all the paiskim is not like that. Tzarchim, somebody wants to be makel to go like this to wake people up, yesh al malismach. Even for the Mishnah Berurah, yesh al malismach. Kavachomer that I don't understand the Mishnah Berurah, so yesh al malismach. That's okay. Sorry? Oh, I'm sorry? Yeah. That's also sure, but okay. Okay, let's go weiter. That's number one. Number two is, okay, so let's go back now. Tachas. I asked a question yesterday. I asked that, why did that Amoira sleep outside? Why did Amoira sleep outside? Because he held of the shita that you're not allowed to make noise in Shabbos. So we asked the kasha, the Mishnah Berurah says in Eitzah, he says just not kalachar yad. If you're not, even that shita that holds you're not allowed to knock on Shabbos, you're not allowed to make any noise on Shabbos. But you're allowed to do a kalachar yad. The Biur Halacha says that just like when we clap with a melody, we're allowed to clap kalachar yad. So then that shita that holds that there's an isser to make noise on Shabbos is not going to be more machmir than we are when it comes to clapping with a melody. So he says, just clap kalachar yad. What is the raya I asked yesterday, Kasha? Why did Amari have to sleep outside? He should have just clapped kalachar yad, right? Sorry? Sorry? What's a Kallus Hashem? He's clapping kalachar yad. Okay, so it's a like zero on a chumrah. Okay. Like that. Anyways, I found in Or Sameach. Or Sameach and Merit Gazach. The Or Sameach is a whole different Havana. I guess the Samara held like the Or Sameach. The Or Sameach is in the 23rd parak in Hilchos Shabbos. You know, here's a whole different Havana over here than the Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah learns what's this Isser of making noise on Shabbos. He learns it's related to the Isser of klei shir, of all these things that we've been talking about. You know, there's the isser of actually instruments. There's an isser of making melody, like, you know, because you'll come to fix it and make an instrument, whatever. And then there's another thing is you're not allowed to make noise according to that Amoira. Why you're not allowed to make noise? So the Mishnah Berurah learned the reason you're not allowed to make noise is the same idea. If you make noise, I guess you'll come to make a kliya miyuchad for noise, something like that, whatever. But it's included in that. So Mela, the Mishnah Berurah held, therefore, kalachar yad, you have the same materium as over there. The Or Sameach, he says, if you look in the Yushalmi, you look in the Gemara, they don't say this lashon of, you know, that it's a new gzeira. They learn it was a separate isser. This sugya of Erev and Dafkov Dalid, it's a separate sugya. Are you allowed on Shabbos to be moilid koil? Like, you know, on Shabbos there's a shaila about not being moilid reyach. You're not allowed to take a perfume and put it onto a shirt or something like that. You're not allowed on Shabbos to be moilid reyach. Now that'd be Marich Reach. Why not? Because it's a takana, a gzeira, that it looks like a tikkun or whatever. Okay. But there's halacha. You're not allowed to be moilid reich. So you're not allowed, you're allowed to put, let's say, on your hair, you're allowed to put something that smells nice because that's your body. But a sheitel is not your body. So you're not allowed to put, it's a baguette. You're not allowed to spray, let's say, perfume onto a sheitel. It's the same thing. You're not allowed to be moilid reich. Okay. So now what about being moilid koil? Moilid koil, like a new halacha. You're not allowed to be moilid a koil. I don't know what exactly the issur is. Meaning, I don't know what the reason the kind of chazal was, but the Or Sameach learns it's a new thing, like a creation on Shabbos of a koil. That's how he learns what was the machlekes in the Gemara in Eruvin. One man Domer said, you're not allowed to be moilid koil. We pass in the halacha, you are allowed to be moilid koil. That's it. Just let me explain first. You are allowed to be moilid koil. You're not allowed to be moilid koil. Okay, so he learns the Or Sameach. So that he says. So besides, there's no heter of kalachar yad. There's no heter of kalachar yad. The only heter of kalachar yad is when you say that this takana is related to the takana that we've been talking about for the last few days. But if this is a whole new takana, we never found over there heter kalachar yad. Just like in all the gzeras of Chazal, we never had. So I guess it's a merit gezach. It comes out that this Amoira, whoever he was that slept outside, he held like the Or Sameach, that it's a whole new gzera. Okay, Mishnah Berurah is not like that. Mishabura says first not like that. The Mishabura does say there's a heter of kalach hayat. I guess this is the shakel v'tayr. It's interesting. The Emma says we don't paskin like this. I'm not going to shtel on it so much, but it's a whole different way of learning. What do you want to ask? It's a good question. Ayin Sham. That's why I gave you the marmaka. It's a good question. That's what he says. Ayin Sham. He makes the two shells. That's what I'm saying. He says Aludei Koil Kamai that we find in Shabbos. Alud. He brings it from the Diak in the Gemara. Why does the Gemara call it Aludei Koil, not Tashmaz Koil, and whatever? Sorry. Okay, so you're arguing on the Samech. I don't mind. The Mishabura argues on the Samech, and we don't paskin like this b'chlal. So I'm not going to shtel on it during the Shia. If you want, I'll talk to you about it afterward. But it's Kabbanim. It explains at least that Amira. That's the Kol HaPachas that explains that Amira. Now they have these candies that are whistles. Yeah, ever saw this? No, I don't mean the one. No, the Olam doesn't know what I mean. You think I'm talking about the ones, the white one, and then they have that thing over there. I mean, it's a candy is a whistle, right? The candy is a whistle. So you're allowed to blow those on Shabbos? Huh? The candy itself is a whistle. It's like a sucking candy in the shape of a whistle. It's probably not so very good for your teeth, but that's what it is. What? No, there's no tzad heter. Okay, so now we have to talk. You're allowed to give them to your children to eat on Shabbos. It's going to come. What? Is it Kli Shemach Eliezer? What? Or do we say, no, really, it's oichel in the form of an instrument? No, this is very serious. Okay. What? Because the oichel. Is it the oichel? Yeah, maybe. What? Asher, how old are you? Maybe you have to ask a 4-year-old. Huh? You're 6. Have to see. Okay, we'll come back to this in a moment. Excuse me, what? Also, let's get to the knocker on the door. That's it. So comes again to Ramah. Now start a new part of the sugya. Comes again to the Ramah. And the Ramah says like this. He says, Aser lahakos b'Shabbos aladelas b'tabas. Aser lahakos b'Shabbos aladelas b'tabas hakavua b'delas. You're not allowed to use the door knocker on Shabbos. That's a Ramah. Afapi, Shayna Mekavin L'Shir. Afapi that you're not trying to, right? You're just not knocking to get in. And see what we've been learning till now. There's no Gemara, the way at least we paskin. The way we paskin, that you're allowed to make noise on Shabbos. So what should be the difference if I'm clapping? What should be the difference if I'm banging? What's the difference if I'm banging with a door knocker? There's no Gemara like that. And that's why this is a Ramah. It's not a Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch doesn't say that this is Aser. Okay, but the Ramah says you're not allowed. He brings this from the Agar. He says, why? Because Hoyel Vakli meyuchad lekach aser. Because this is a kli that's meyuchad. What's this? You're not allowed to use a kli that's meyuchad to make a noise. So what's the example of this? The shamish is not allowed to clap in order to koirei people to the base of Knesses. Al yidei a kli meyuchad lekach. If the shamish has a kli meyuchad lekach, he can't go and clap it and get people to come to the base medrash. Ella, what should he do? He should knock on the door. Knock on the door, but don't use your kli meyuchad lekach to be knocking on the door. You had like a special stick. Don't use that stick of kli meyuchad. What's this? Mazev al mazev. What's this, sir? So there's an auger. The Beis Yosef Bemis brings the auger. But it's interesting. In the Shulchan Aruch and Sefer Shulchan Aruch, he doesn't bring it. It sounds like everything that we're going to say is only for the Ashkenazim. That sounds like everything we're about to say is only for the Ashkenazim. It sounds like for the Sfardim, Achenu B'nei Sfardim, everything I'm about to say in the next few moments because I guess, they had all the chumras when it came to dancing and clapping on Shabbos. The Sfardim can't do any dancing and any clapping on Shabbos, obviously, right? But so now you got to give them something. So Rabbi Zion Abishal says, no, they don't have this isser of Kliya Miyuchat Lekach. Okay, even though the Beis Yosef does bring it, but the Shulchan Aruch doesn't bring it. So I guess they don't have anything we're about to talk about. The Sfardim don't hold of. Okay, so no, it's Nageya. Maybe in yeshiva, maybe we'll see soon. Like if the Vecker is going to have a Kliya Miyuchat, it's Kedai to make a Sfardi Vecker. Doesn't have a lot of the problems they have, or all these things, right? Somebody was asking me how they have the clapper and bells. You know what I'm talking about? They have like this oar. Everyone's talking about the bells. What? It's what? No, the thing they're hitting looks leather, but both of them are leather. Okay, so somebody came to me yesterday. We're going to see now about this sugya of Kli Meyuchad. You're not allowed on Shabbos to clap with a Kli. That's a Kli Meyuchad, the coil, right? I mean, that's one of the biggest stellas and bells. I think it's the Rebbe, the Dayan, the Shiva clapper. No, it's mamish no, I said it wrong. I don't want to say. Okay, yeah, but yeah, I think you know what I mean. But the clapper is a Geisha Steller. So someone asked me, "Wie can design as the mensch clapped on Shabbos and clapped as 8 with the ganze everybody there and they're clapped and everybody sees them clapping? It's against the Ramah." I told him, so anti-Semite, how do you know that he's not a Sephardi? Right? How do you know? What's so funny? Why? How do you know? What? How do you know he's not? They're going to close us down with comments like that. Right. SLM, Smarty Lives Matter. Don't cause trouble over here. The kids are so that we have to see. Maybe you don't know. It's because he's wearing a strimal and everything. Who knows what's going on underneath there? I don't know like that. But no, you have to learn. Rabbi say you have to be able in life to be melamed schos and dan the kaf schos and things like that. Not to right away be so antagonistic. And anyways. So we have to figure out what is this isser? What is this isser before we try to find the limit schos, right? Let's first understand the isser, I guess, right? So what's the isser? There's an isser of not using a kli to make a koil hamiyuchad on Shabbos, a kli hamiyuchad for a koil, right? The examples you can imagine already. I used to have, I have to bring it in, but my what's the thing called? My gavel. That's a kli hamiyuchad, right? That's a kli hamiyuchad. What else could you think of as a kli hamiyuchad that we have to talk about? Rattle, right? Rattle. Rabbi Shron, you left this in my house. Right. I already mekav in the mitzvah Shabbos Aveda, right? But is this a kli hamiyuchad for kol? Is it a kli hamiyuchad for kol? Right? It's probably hasn't slept in 3 nights. Sorry, I don't know. Is that a kli hamiyuchad for kol because it also has other usages? The whole giraffe over there and everything. Ganze does. Yeah. Is this called miyuchad because what? The truth is that your child, I don't think, has any benefit from this except for this, right? The squeakiness or no? Huh? It's shleimis. Okay, anyways. But no, so, yeah, I don't know. Is that called miyuchad l'koil? I don't know if miyuchad l'koil has to be only koil nishtan under zach, Maybe that thing in it is also a kliya miyuchad l'koil. The squeaky kite, that's also maybe just a kliya miyuchad. We'll see. But let's see. So what is this isser? Let's get to the avon of this isser. Are you allowed to wave a rattle in front of a baby on Shabbos that the kid should start crying? What do you have to do? What do you have to do? As of now, before we learn the sugya, this Shabbos comes, the baby's crying, mom is crying away. And you know how it is? Sometimes it's like 2 a.m. and the baby's crying, right? And sometimes it's 3. So the vaila, we have one eitzah, is you go to your neighbor, the Svardi, right? And you tell him, could you come over for a minute and shake? That's mutter gomer. Make sure that when he comes, he doesn't start shaking with a niggin. He's going to do a whole niggin, this guy, right? What? A nigun, right? You don't want him to do a niggin. What? No, because we'll see in a minute. We'll see exactly what he's allowed to maybe be saimech and we'll see. But anyways, so far that's one heter. What's this isser? What's the isser? What? No, him I have to answer. I tortured him for the last few moments. What? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So for me, I'm not going to touch it. I'm not even going to say anything. I'm going to say, listen. Okay, yeah, what? It's 3 a.m. The baby's crying. What do you want from me? The baby's crying. Okay, let's see. We'll have to see if we're allowed to do this. So what's this isser? So if you look good in the Mishnah Berurah and the Shartzin and the Biur Halacha, you're going to get confused. He has 3 different reasons for this isser. It's a big insight in life. When there's a Mefurish Gemara, then usually you'll be able to find out the reason of something. When something's not a Gemara and you have to wait for the Ugar really comes from the Maril, but you have to wait till the Ugar, the Maril, and this type of Achrayim, the Rishayim. So then you're going to get confused because what is the nature of this Isser? It's not a Mefurish Gemara. You have a Gemara, you have a Rashi, you have a Toisis, you know what you're dealing with. Over here, it's some type of so what is this? So there's 3 Mahalchim over here. Some say that the pshat is, if you look in the Mishnah Berurah, he sounds that since it's a kli, you'll come to make koilis of, I guess you'll lose yourself or forget yourself. Since you're making a noise with a kli, and it's a kli hamiyuchad, not just stomachly, it's a kli hamiyuchad, it's not just like a fork against the table. It's a kli hamiyuchad. So now you're in miyuchad kite, you'll come to make koilis of shir. You hit this gzeira, it's a gzeira to the gzeira, right? I'm going to come to make koilis of the shir. What do you say? What? Wait, it's not, before we get to example, let's see what the Pais can say first. So if I take a kli that's miyuchad to make a koil, so then Chazal said you're going to come to make a kli, let's say the door knocker, right? So if I come to it really is very normal, right? When you have a door knocker, so you knock on the door, very normal, you're going to come to do dun 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 dun, right? It's a very normal thing. Okay, Rabbi Singer says he doesn't do that. Right? He doesn't do that. But everybody else understands that it's a normal thing. To go dun 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 dun, right? How do I know that niggin? Right? So say it's like a normal zach. That's the first reason why. But again, nobody here, Rabbi said, I'm not asking your opinion. This is what it says in the Mishnah Berurah, right? We're just trying to figure out what the nafkaminas are afterward. We can ask your opinion. But that's what it says in the Mishnah Berurah. Shartzin says another reason. He brings a lavosh. He says, since it's meyuchad l'koil, it's a kliya meyuchad l'koil, even though you're allowed to make a koil on Shabbos, with your hands you're allowed to knock, but since it's meyuchad l'koil, you might come to fix it. It's like mamish exactly related to, why you're not allowed to use an instrument, you might come to fix it. So this is the same thing. Just a moment. When you have a kliya meyuchad for a koil, you might come to fix it. So if you have a door knocker, you might come to fix it. What? No, here's even more. It's the same exact gzeira, except there it said kli shir. Here it's a big chiddush. The Gemara said you're not allowed to play a musical instrument on Shabbos. He's saying the Gemara is lav dafka. It doesn't mean to say a kli, an instrument. It means anything that makes a noise. An instrument was an example, I guess. That's how I learned the Gemara. An instrument's an example. The third reason, when you look at in the Biur Halacha, is a whole new reason. The Biur Halacha says a whole new reason. Tiferes Yisrael goes very strong with this reason. Tiferes Yisrael says the real reason is because of uvdin dechal. That's the real reason. What's uvdin dechal? Okay. What's uvdin dechal? Anytime your parents didn't want you to do something on Shabbos, they tell you uvdin dechal, right? So what's uvdin dechal? There are Gemaras about uvdin dechal, right? So here the Gemara we don't have about this uvdin dechal, but the way that maybe it's Tiferes Yisrael, other chayim learn this. And the truth is, if you look inside the Maril, which is where the Agra is coming from, who knows what he says over there? He sounds like it's an uvdin dechal. He sounds like, what's this isser of a kliya meyuchad l'koil? It sounds like an uvdin d'chol, something which is choldik and whatever. What's the difference if the isser is uvdin d'chol or one of the other things? We'll see, very big nafkaminas. First of all, if the isser is going to be uvdin d'chol, we're going to see, and this is a very big topic, but it could be that there won't be an isser muksa. Why it's like that is very big shaila. But if something's an uvdin d'chol, we consider it in halacha to be a chumrah. This is a unique chumrah. It's not a chumrah. We're used to, in halacha, we're used to chumras that some hold mutter and some hold aser, and I am machmir. We're used to that type of chumrah. This is like a whole new, it's a borrowed phrase. It's not a good phrase because it doesn't really fit. When we say chumrah, so we know chumras are things that, we are machmir on them, and therefore such a thing won't be muksa, right? Let's say you hold the peeler is not boirer. Let's say, the peeler is not boirer, and I don't want to go into the sugi now, but there are those that hold the peeler is not boirer, and some hold it is boirer, whatever. What? Ramesha, whatever. So let's say the peeler is not boirer. But you decide to be machmir and not to use the peeler on Shabbos. But is a peeler going to be a klitcha machal? Yes, sir. So you say a machmir, it doesn't mean that my chumrah includes muksa. That would be a concept that we would be able to understand, right? Here it's a whole new concept. We're saying that this kli that's miyuchad for koil, the gavel that I spoke about, let's say, right? We're saying it's a kli on miyuchad the koil, and it's an uvdin d'chol. It's an uvdin d'chol, and it's aser on Shabbos to use it. It's aser. You're not allowed to use it, right? It's an isser. But says the Mishabura, it's possible that that's called the chumrah in halacha. What do you mean chumrah? We all have to hold of it. Yeah. Okay, we have to figure this out. But if it's a chumrah, so then there might not be an isser muks on it. Like that far, the chumrah didn't go. We have to figure this out. This is a whole new concept. But that's one nafkamina if I tell you it's muksa, if it's, uvdin d'chol, or if it's one of the other things. If you learn the other rishonim, the other achrayim, the reason they say because you might come to fix it, or you might come to make, then it's like every other issur d'rabbanan. And every other issur d'rabbanan, what's the din of every other issur d'rabbanan? Of course it makes a muksa. If you have an item which you're not allowed to use, midrabbanan, it's muksa, right? It's a klish makal yisur, right? Okay. What else could be a nafkamina if something's an uvdin d'chol? And it's what? A mirla akum is not so fashion, What? Oh, the big nafkamina over here is it going to help to have, we know that Rabbi says a toothbrush is an uvdin d'chol. That's the example. I'm just giving an example, the Heintig example. There's Gemara is about this. The Gemara talks about a back scratcher. And the Gemara says that if you have a golden back scratcher, miyuchad for Shabbos and whatever. So Rabbi says you're not allowed to use a tooth scratcher, a toothbrush, right? You're not allowed to use a toothbrush. Why? Because of the d'chol. Obviously, you're not using toothpaste and whatever, but you're still not allowed to use a toothbrush. Why? Because of the d'chol. Says Rabbi, what's the eitzah out of that? Get a toothbrush, hamiyuchad for Shabbos. And then you don't have the d'chol. So we know uvdin d'chol has its limitations. That the only time we say uvdin d'chol is when it's the one you're using from chol. So if you learn over here the isser is uvdin d'chol, so then if I have one miyuchad for Shabbos, then it'll be mutter. Mashenket, if you learn the isser is, I'll come to make a musical sound, I'll come to fix it. What's it going to help me to have a miyuchad for Shabbos, right? No. So let's see, what would be a good example of a miyuchad for Shabbos? Wait, before bells, you guys have a one-track mind. Who says they don't use it during the week? What? They don't use it during the week? What? On tours. So they do use it during the week. Wait a minute. That's an interesting shayla. During the week, it's an interesting shayla. During the week, they clap it. It's like a museum, you mean? It's like, so during the week, they clap to show what the Sephardi guy does on Shabbos, right? Is that called they use it? No, right? They're just showing the noise that he does on Shabbos, right now. Oh, but what I was about to say, I did my Belzer homework today. First of all, I found out he's not a Sephardi. Right? I said, okay, that was the first thing I found out. The second thing I found out was that I said Shabbos, Yom Tif, they use it, Yom Tif, Yom Kippur, Yom HaKadosh, right? Yom Adin, Rosh Hashanah, they use it. I said, is there any other time that you can think of that they use it? He said, yeah, sure. Whenever the main base medrash is open. I said, what are the times that the main base medrash open? You know, all the normal things like Slichis, Rabbi Shechasana, like things like that, all the normal things, right? When they're open. So is that called Miyuchad for Shabbos? I don't know. Is Slichas Shabbos? I don't know. What? Oh, it's okay. So right away, Rabbi Liebowitz came all the way from the West Coast to be Melamed Chos. They have one that's Miyuchad for Shabbos, so I asked that question. Yeah? No, of course not. Oh, sorry, in Yiddish, 9. Was tries the cup? What? Oh, that's a whole different thing. So you have another heter here. That's another heter we're seeing that Achrayim. If you learn the law, this is Ovdin Nechayil, there might be a heter Ovdin Nechayil b'makim mitzvah like Gazru. Okay, but the Gzeiras, of course, are also b'makim mitzvah. How you can't play a banjo at a chasana, right? On Shabbos, you can't play a banjo at the Shabbat brachas, right? So this is a shayla. We have to figure out what the Iker Tam is. But if it's like that, I don't know. So far, it's not looking so good for the Belzers, though. I mean, I thought they got the Sephardi in there. I thought Chachapis. I thought they have a miyuchad for Shabbos. Doesn't sound like it. Doesn't sound like it's miyuchad for Shabbos, right? Maybe, I don't know. Oh, by the way, let's say Taka, they would have one miyuchad for Shabbos. Let's say if we make enough pressure, that's how things work in life. If the tzibro put enough pressure, right? So, maybe you down in there or no? You know? No, still, what about you? No. Okay, but if you could put enough pressure, no, Franco? Right, it's interesting who I'm asking. But anyways, right? Rabbi Singer? No. But let's say we put enough pressure, they decide that's it. We're going to get one miyuchad for Shabbos. You just have to donate it or whatever, right? They'll put your name on it. They'll put your face on the pillow over there, whatever, And we'll get a miyuchad dika klapper for Shabbos. Let's say we can get a miyuchad dika klapper for Shabbos, right? But so what? So that means that they just paskind that the ikar reason over here of not using a kliya miyuchad for Shabbos is what? Ovdin Nechol. Because don't forget, according to the other reasons, it's not going to help to have a miyuchad one for Shabbos, right? Again, if you hold that the reason is Ovdin Nechol, then we said there might be a heter that if it's miyuchad for Shabbos, we don't say Ovdin Nechol. One moment. But what's the heter? It's a kliya miyuchad l'kol. It makes a kol. Why not? For them, no. When they were miyachad for a kol, why not? I don't know. It's no different than a gavel. It's no different than a door knocker. I don't know. So wait, one more. Rabbi, I'm just using it as case study. Nobody has to get what's the word I'm looking for? Sensitive. It's not. Das ist nicht a vaccine. 1 Minute, Kinder. 1 Minute. But what? Wait. 1 minute. So I'm just saying. Just realize that even if you'll tell me they have a kliya miyuchad l'koil, a kliya miyuchad, just for Shabbos, right? So then who still gives them a right to use it on Shabbos? That's a bir alacha's reason of those. It's true. It's true that you look in the Mariel, it sounds like that's the ikar reason. But you look in the Bishta Brura, you look in the Beis Yosef, it doesn't sound like that was the ikar reason. You look in the Levush, that's not the ikar reason. There's other reasons. They might come to do a clay shear. They might, a musical sound. They might come to fix it. So we have to worry about all the reasons. Who gives them a right to there was a minig, I don't know. Does anybody today have a door knocker? I know, listen, when I grew up in the Haim, in the old country, it's still there, I think, right? And what? Wait. So in the old country, they used to have the door knocker. I remember this is the earliest memory of a Hilchos Shabbos Shaila that I asked. If you ever want to know, what was the first Hilchos Shabbos Shaila I ever asked, right? So we went on, I think it was the Grad Hashem Zacher, and we went to a house, and right there, the Rav of the shul, he was the old Rabbi London, from whoever remembers from the old country, from Flatbush. So a great Yid, the Talmud of Rav Aaron Kotler. And I was at the door, and he came at the same time with me and my father and my brother. And so we came to the door was closed. Right? Okay. So my brother, not me, I would never do. He reached up to clap the door knocker, to clap, right? So the Rav said no, but you can't clap, right? So there was one of the other Kallus children, one of the wise guy ones. he said to the Rav, so what should we do? It's the best that we should ring the bell, right? Right? You know, the next thing I remember was, right? Because he deserved it. You know? The next thing I remember was giving him a smack. To talk to the Rav like that, chutzpah, right? But it's taka. It's a good kasha that he asked. No, what's the whole reason why you have the bell? Because the bell is for the weekday. So what says the Shabbos klapper? No, das geriefen a Shabbos klapper. What's the reason why you have a door knocker? Mistamer for Shabbos. So I guess that it's totally in this landis. If you learn that you have a kliya meyuchad for Shabbos, so then that would be, if you go with uvdin the chayil, so then kliya meyuchad for Shabbos should work. If you don't go that the reason is kliya meyuchad, uvdin the chayil, you go the reason is because you'll come to fix, you'll come to make a noise, whatever, right? So then vice the chayis, it's not going to help that you have a door knocker meyuchad for. So this is what he's telling you. I guess all the Belzers, I guess they have door knockers and they use them on Shabbos. I guess, right? And they go with the reason of Ovdin Dechol, like the Tiferes Yisrael. I guess they paskin like the Tiferes Yisrael. I guess all the Belzers hold the Tiferes Yisrael, right? I guess so. What? Excuse me? Yeah, I don't know. The Maaseh think even the Goyim have a bell and a knocker. So what do they have it for? Kratzmach, Lavdil, Gevein. What do they have it for? What? So why do they have it there? Cash on the guy, right? He also doesn't have a mezuzah, right? Okay. He also prays to the mamzer. No, not a cash, boss. No one uses it. Huh?
The real goyim in England.
The real goyim?
Yeah.
That's interesting. You mean the English, the English goyim use it? Maybe it's because they don't know how to press the bell. They haven't figured out how to do it yet. What?
It's not manners.
Oh, it's not manners. That's not bad. He's right. No, because the English bell is not that Israeli. You know, it's probably ding dun 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 dun. Like Kitzer does is that. So let's try and figure this out over here. So what's enough? So there's a bacher in yeshiva. He asked me a kasha like this. Okay, so what's la halacha l'maisa? I don't know what the ikar reason is, which I tell you. One second, one moment. I don't know the ikar reason because it's very hard. We'll have to come back. The Mishabura brings one reason, okay? The Bir Lacha brings a different reason. Normally, we would say if the Mishabura brings a reason and the Shartzin or Bir Lacha bring a different reason, we'll go with the reason the Mishabura probably, right? Yet the Bir Lacha has got all these kulas based on, is that what you were about to say, Rabbi Balon? That the Bir Lacha does seem to be going with Uvdin Dechal, right? Because he's willing to be makel on the Muksa Shaila, which we'll talk about. But let's hold off. Let's at least right now pretend like there's, all the shitas we have to deal with. Because we do. I don't know. If the Mishabura brings it, then we have to deal with all of them. Okay. Tachlis Geret, if you see somebody clapping on the door with the door knocker, Mustama just, let him falazich on those shitas. If he starts going dun 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 dun, then it's what? But you don't want him to be silent. Why? Because Mishabura is not like that. What? Oh, you want what? You stop arguing. You're saying that the door knocker. So let me explain. He's from England, and you just heard over here that by then they use it during the week. What's the Metzias in America? I don't remember. I don't know. Do people use the door knocker ever? I don't think so. What? What? It's not Shabbos. In other words, it could be like this. He's saying that even if you say that they don't use it during the week, but they zikr didn't make it just for Shabbos, right? So fine. So why can't I come right now? I have a great idea. This is another thing that people can spend money on. So I got a great idea. Rabbi said, I have an idea. You'll take the door knock, and I don't know if it'll work in Gateshead because the guy they may not be able to understand this. But what you'll do is you'll write on the Shabbos. You'll write on the door knocker. You'll make like a Shabbos, shin base off. You write Shabbos. You make a picture of like Kallus, and Neris or whatever, right? And then then it'll be Yuchad for Shabbos. You could do that. The Yachad for Shabbos. So feed the Tiferes Yisrael. What? Yeah, no. Why not? Because there's two other reasons. So maybe not to be Saimach on the Tiferes Yisrael. Maybe not. What? Oh, so I think that's the Shiloh over here. That's the Shiloh. Okay. What? Come again? I'm saying if you miyachid it for Shabbos, then that'll be totally in this machlekes. Yeah, okay, I don't know. I don't know if if it's something that's pashit that everybody's going to use, and people use it. Nothing pashit. Let's see. So some bacher asked me a shai like this. There's a bacher who's a vecker. Says shai like this. Was anybody here the vecker in yeshiva so I could have a conversation with somebody? Who else? Also here by Siegel. How'd you wake people up? Oi, how'd you wake people up?
So many times.
What?
First time, second time, third time, and thanks.
What'd you do?
First time,
Yeah.
just call the name and tap.
He calls name and tap him. Okay. Yeah. What'd you do? Had a gun. What'd you have? What was that? A water gun. Okay. So this Becker, he has a kli that he makes noise with. He walks in every morning. He has a plate. This is what he told me. He has a plate, and he comes in, and he has a hanger. This is what he told me. Right? Why Dafka? What? Now, bell is a different shmooze because the bell might be musical. But he has a hanger. This is what he told me. He has a hanger, right? He says, and he just claps the plate as he walks in. Wake up, wake up. He claps the plate as he walks in. With it. That's what he does, right? So he called me. We wanted to know, is he allowed to do that? Because people are saying he's over on all types of averas, like after Chekamoicha and Svarim and Basar B'chalav and whatever. So he asked me, he's asking me this shaila. I was thinking like this. I asked him, what about on Shabbos? He said, Shabbos for sure. That's when they need it the most, So he said, so I was thinking, is he allowed to do that on Shabbos? Is he allowed, he doesn't have a kli. He has a kli miyuchad l'koil, right? He has a kli miyuchad l'koil, and he doesn't have a miyuchad one for Shabbos. Is that called a kli miyuchad l'koil? That's my shaila. Another, is it, wait, slow. Let me just tell me my shaila. Right? Is it called a kli miyuchad for a koil? Okay? This shaila, somebody came to me 10 years ago, Bakar, I asked the shaila to Rabbi Yashiv. Right? I brought the hanger to Rabbi Yashiv. Right? It was like a broken hanger. I came in, I showed him, what's the shaila? The shaila is that when we say a kli miyuchad, is it have to be like, we've been describing today, there's a rattle which you make into a kli, right? It's a squeaky toy over there. It's the gavel, it's the Belzer ore and whatever, all those things, right? But here, he just took a hanger, there's no yichas to this hanger, just took it, smashed it and went like this, and he just claps with it. So that called a kli miyuchad l'koil. So, mitzad the reasons, you could dan, right? Mitzad the reasons, look, mitzad ovdin d'chayil, what do you think? It's like a hard thing to hear that would be nechlo and uvdin nechol. There's no like yichus to this kli. All the kelim you ever found out about uvdin nechol, like a toothbrush, a back scratcher, or this, right? It sounds like there was some like certain surah to it. Like that. You could argue, wait, slow. You could argue, but the other reason, what were the other reasons? You'll come to fix it. I mean, if this thing breaks, it's broken. If what do? You'll just get another hanger. It's not like the kind of thing that they'll come to fix. Elamite, is he going to come to make a musical sound with this thing? But it's other reasons you could don. I don't know. But there's a shtickle diak here. I had a diak. I'll tell you what Rabbi Yashiv said in a moment, but I'll tell you a diak. Mishabur Tzivkat in Zion, over here, listen to Mishabur. Mishabur is talking about the Shamish, right? Where's Mishabur? Here. Yesh Mekoy, yeah? Yesh Mekoymis, Shlekech HaShamish, this is him, right? Yesh Mekoymis Shlekech HaShamish b'Shabbos, Kli Acher L'Hakois b'Shabbos. There are some places that the Shamish takes a different Kli to clap on Shabbos. Umash Make HaShamish b'Beis HaKnesses Al Shulchan. Maisa the Shamish claps like bells, right? The Shamish claps on Shabbos on the Shulchan. Umashmi HaKoil, and he tries to make a noise. Kidei L'Hashkes bells, in order to get everybody quiet. L'Chazar Sachatz. Ein B'Zeh Isser. There's no Isser. Why? Afilu Umake Beis HaDover. Even if he just uses epis something to clap. Why? Saktim Shabura. Kevan she'enoi make bekli miyuchad lezeh. He doesn't use a kli that's miyuchad lezeh. So first of all, there's a lot in this Mishnah Berurah, right? Now, number one, you see in this Mishnah Berurah that bells is a problem. This is bells, right? It says that if he's using a kli miyuchad lezeh, that's a problem. Okay. Number one. Number two is, what did Mishnah Berurah just say? Mishnah Berurah just said that if you have a kli that's eino miyuchad, it's mutter. What does it mean, a kli that's eino miyuchad? What's the case? What's the Mishnah Berurah talking about? So what does it mean? Does he mean because every time he just takes a different one? He just takes anything that's there? What? He says even though he's using a kli, but he doesn't take a kli miyuchad lezeh. So I don't know. That's a shayla to learn. Right? Eitz a davar. Right? So no, but what does the Mishnah Berurah mean? Does he mean he is bepoil, just takes whatever's there and just claps? Or does the Mishnah Berurah mean because he doesn't care? He punkt has this thing. It's not something that was miyuchad. That's the shayla how to learn this Mishnah Berurah. Sorry. It's not such a. You guys can all do it. You know those like metal bending hangers, right? Not the black ones. You take that, just goes like this and goes like that. That's what he does. it's easier to hit by Smith. He wants a hanger. What? Okay. Bekitzer, Shaila, how to learn the Mishnah Berurah? How do you learn this Mishnah Berurah? The Mishnah Berurah says that Kevin She'ena Makeh B'Kliya Miyuchad Lezeh. Right? I definitely think the or and bells is miyuchad lezeh. I mean, that's pretty miyuchad lezeh. That for sure is a problem. What was just a moment? That for sure is a problem. Right? But the question is, how do you down a hanger? Do you say because he decided to take this and use it, or do you say it's not miyuchad lezeh? It's done. You've chopped something, whatever. Ma'aseh Yasser Yasher said it's mutter. Okay, so that's 1/8. So if somebody wants to tell the Belzers that we have a shtickle eights for them, they can just take a hanger. Right, and just start knocking, then that'll be okay. And that's his chayah. Sorry. Who cares? That's miyucha to make a noise. What? It's miyucha to make a noise. No, that's for sure miyucha to make a noise. What do you mean? My example when I learned this Gemara, the Paiskim about Kliya miyucha the coil is the or and bells. That's my example. That's my thought. I don't know later, right? Let me finish with one last shayla over here. The truth is we have a lot to talk about with toys. Sorry, what happened? It gets so late over here. I don't know. Wait, what? What the hell is my? We have to talk about toys. I'll leave you one thing to think about. The fee, what we said today. What should come out? A rattle. The baby's crying on Shabbos. By toys, you have 4 questions you have to don. One question you have to don, okay, if it's a toy that makes mamash a musical sound, so versteht that's a kliya miyuchad l'shir, in Malsa. Okay. But one question we have to don is this called a kliya miyuchad l'kol? One question. Another question is, even within that, sometimes you have those those you have like a car that makes a clicking noise, and it's bedafka making a clicking noise, You know what I'm talking about? They have those like cars and trains and that, and they make like a clicking noise, bedafka. So is that also called a kliya miyuchad l'koil? Or is that like an agav? How do we don that? It's another shot. Then we have to don the muksa aspect. Then we have to don, even if you'll say it's a problem, and even if you'll say whatever, am I allowed to give it to the kid? Because there's an isser in halacha called sapina and biyadayim. That what's usher for a child or usher for a person, you're not allowed to give a child treif, even though he's going to eat it on his own or whatever. So you're not allowed to give him to do an isser. So if I would come out that it's usher, so let's say I'll come out of rattles usher, can I give it to the kid, or you're enabling him? No, that's the big word today, right? So I'm enabling him to use a rattle. All these are the nidainim that we have to don when we don. So what lemaisa should come out? Kipshutai, without any chedushim, what should come out? Tachlis garet, the kid is crying, he's going mashigit. Am I allowed to take the rattle and wave it in front of him? Well, what should be the fetus? So the answer should be a Sephardi yes, and Ashkenazi no, right? It's a kli amiyucha l'koil. It's definitely a kli amiyucha l'koil, right? And then the kli amiyucha l'koil is also, right? That's what should come out. L'chayra, everyone agrees? Is that what comes out? So tachlis this Friday night, the baby's crying. So we'll have to see in a minute. Can I hand it to him? Can he do it himself or whatever? Okay. But can I wave it in front of the baby in order to get him to stop crying? What's Allah l'maisa? L'chayra aser. Okay, is there anybody who wants to matter? What? So you were makavin to the great Goyin Rabbi Falk. Rabbi Falk says that what do you mean he's a chayla? The baby's a chayla. And so I would say that you're going to be allowed to. A baby's a chayla and you're allowed to, right? Okay? It's a chayla. It's a chayla. He's crying. Okay? Every time a baby cries, he's a chayla? Yeah? Every time a baby cries, he's a chayla. You know that the Chayvus Alavavis writes that the Rabbi Shalom made, you know what the Chayvus Alavavis says? The Rabbi Shalom made it that the baby should cry, should let him cry a little bit. It's good for the lungs, right? It's good for the lungs. It's usually not good for the father, but it's good for the lungs, right? It's good for the lungs. But who says every time a baby cries, he says, bring me a raya from something we learned last month, not like this? Gagoim. There was a whole entire siman, an entire sugin shas about a child that's going bananas, right? The kid is crying and screaming. You made up that shir, right? Yeah? Okay. Yeah. The 63rd shir, I think it was, yeah? Over there, the kid was going crazy and crying and screaming and flapping and plopping up and down and in and out. Screaming. And over there's a whole shot. He's holding muksa. And we tell him, no, sorry, we can't pick you up. You're holding muksa. It's all common rules. And, if it's the type of thing that's not important, whatever, all different rules. What? Sorry? Slow. You're coming with Chedushim. We're going first and simple. Even if it's also in the Chayil, said what? First of all, there's 2 other reasons. Number 1, right? And number 2, even if it's also in the Chayil, so what? Well, why is that not an Ovdin the Chayil? Who's Kaveya? Who knows what's Ovdin the Chayil? Sorry? Come again? By the drops of the water, right? By that he had that thing. What? That what? Right. The Tiferes Yisrael. Yeah, okay, but the Tiferes Yisrael, the Biur Halacha doesn't like the Tiferes Yisrael, right? It goes on to really scream at the Tiferes Yisrael over here. The Tiferes Yisrael wants to be Mako like B'Shas Tzchak. He wants to knock out the whole entire history. The Biur Halacha doesn't like that. Okay, the Biur Halacha is a Ra'if Hakar. But anyways, so this kid is going Meshuggah. So Rabbi Leibovich says, he's a chayla, you're allowed to. So first of all, I don't know. Then in Cain, crying is a chayla. That's what Rabbi Leibovich just said. I have to... Sorry? Yeah, he says a child's needs is considered tzarich, and we know that in Hilchos Shabbos, in Siman Shin Chav Ches, when a person has a din of a chayla, and a child's needs are like chayli, so then we matter certain derabbanans like medicine and whatever. Okay, so then somebody should tell that to the Gemara, because the Gemara says mefuresh. It's not like that crying. I'm not saying that a child's needs. I'm not saying a child's needs don't get a din of a chayla. But what were the examples of the poskim in Shin Chav Ches? Food, drink, sleep. Other things, Rabbi Sayu, things like that. Who says crying? So we might have said crying, but I have a Gemara not like that. The Gemara talks about a whole sug of a child holding muksa. The kid gaitoch meshigib mamish. He's going what? The Gemara was talking about gaguim. He was screaming away. The Gemara says he was coming a chayla. Wait, slow. One more. The Gemara over there says that he's becoming mamish meshugah and crying and everything, right? And on that, the Gemara says you're not allowed. So you see, it's the same crying. It's the same crying. So you see, why don't we say that it's mutter to do drabbanans for the chayla, for this child is a chayla? So Elamai, the pashup shot is that doesn't have a din of a chayla. Crying is not enough to warrant the child being a chayla. If you were trying to make the kid fall asleep, I don't think people are trying to make the kid fall asleep with a rattle. But if you're trying to make the kid fall asleep, so then we could talk, because sleep is something which is the tzarich of the child. How do you get out of that? You have a way out of it? Somebody has a way out of that? You have a way out of that? Yeah. Right. Here, Rabbi say the Shulchan Aruch says first. These are all you. Noitel Adam Es Benoy. He's allowed to pick up his son Evan Biyadai, and he's holding the stone. Why? Because he has gaguin. This case, he has gaguin, and that's why. But you're holding muksa. So the Gemara made a gzeira that we're afraid he's going to throw it on the floor and you're going to pick it up. Says the Gemara, we're not afraid you're going to pick it up if it's a stone, because you don't care about a stone. But what's the next line? The next line, aval. Imein gaguin maser. Vefilu kishiyesh like gaguin. Afilu kishiyesh like gaguin. Akidei kach. I think the Tosfos read over there. I'm not in the sugi now, but the Tosfos read. He was mamish chayli. He was screaming. He was going meshugah. Okay. He has gaguim. He's screaming and crying and going crazy. Vafilu kishiyesh gaguim lo yitiru ela be'evin. If he's holding a coin, a val dinner, aser. That's what it says over here. He says, like aser tilto shaloi biyadayim b'makim sakonas chayli. The Mishnah Berurah calls it a sakonas chayli. What? Again, but in the case of a dinner, it's aser. In the case of a dinner, it's aser. What's going on here? What? Oh my goodness! Everyone became not normal today. What?
Goes against zero.
You were just there for just way too long. Huh? 1 year in the West Coast. What do you think? You couldn't get a boat? Stuck over there in Gilligan's Island. What? What are you talking about? It says in First in the Gemara that over there in a case of where he has gaguim, he's mamish sick, he's all terrible, whatever, it's usher to pick the child up because of a gzeira with muksa and whatever. Well, it's not even on muksa. It's that you might come to pick up a muksa. So you see that Chazal don't consider crying to be a cheshbin of chayli for a child. No, you have somebody to answer. I'm not hearing any answer. What? Sorry? Rafaki writes in his book. He says if the kid is crying, you're allowed to. That's what he writes. That's what he says. What? Sleeping is a different story. You don't take a rattle to put the kid to sleep, right? Okay, so now the Maisa, it's Tamua. Do you want to know who says Mefurish not like this? Do you want to know who says Mefurish not like this? Who says Mefurish not like this? The Mishnah Berurah we have to talk about tomorrow. It's already, the shir is over officially, but the Chayodam and the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch both say Mefurish not like this. Mefurish not like this. What do they say? And it's a terrible thing. I saw one sefer, he brings down the Chayodam and the Kitzur to say that you're allowed to take a rattle to a child when the child is crying. Okay, so you got to look inside the Chai Adam and the Kitzer. It was surprising to me. Why? So now look inside the Chai Adam and the Kitzer, just to understand what they say. They write like it's Lichatchila. So look, the Chai Adam is in Mem Daled Tes, and the Kitzer is in Pei Zayin. And they write like this. They write, don't be mashmiya koil with a kliya miyuchad. Don't use a kli that's miyuchad to be mashmiya koil. That's our Ramah. That's our halacha. Then the next line, right? If you do it to quiet a baby, a person does it to quiet a baby, ein limchais. Don't be meicha, don't put up signs against him in Meishar. Why not? Why not? Why not? Why not? Why not? Why not? He's doing an isser, right? Why not? So he says like this. He says, you know why? Because the Ramah in Shin Lamed Tes brings down that there are people that even clap and dance on Shabbos because there's a taisvis. That today we're not baki b'klei shir. So because of that taisvis, that's why, don't be moicha. It's the old ein moicha. The old ein moicha story that we're not moicha because anyways, there's a taisvis that it's a manazeh, we're not baki in klei shir, and the whole business, that what we hold of it, we don't hold of that, and how much we like that. So, but what does it say in the first in the Kitzer and the Chai Adam? Why is the Kitzer and the Chai Adam have to come on to this taisvis, this gewaltige chiddush of that people aren't going to listen and whatever, or the other svara that today we're not shchiach, and he says ein moicha. Why? Because what does the Kitzer obviously hold? The Kitzer holds lichatchila vade, taking a rattle and waving it in front of a baby is not allowed. Okay, if somebody wants to do it, you can't be moicha. Why can't you be moicha? According to Reb Falk, it's mutter gomer. Well, what's the problem? The child is a chayli, he's crying. His needs of crying are considered a chayli. And when a child is crying, it's considered a chayli. You're allowed so that's considered normal. That's considered a need of a chayli and whatever. And Chazal did nasser b'kai governor. But that's mefresh exactly what the Kitzer is not saying. The Kitzer says, what's the reason why? So the Kitzer, because we have the old heter that we're not baki and klei shir and whatever, and therefore don't be moicha. It's the old day moicha, but he's not saying you're allowed to do it lechatchila. It's tremendous nafkamina. Tremendous nafkamina. What?
The same thing if you're doing it outside and you get a rattle.
That I'm going to talk about. You're allowed to give to the child. It's different share. The raisa. No, not the raisa. Not the raisa. Nobody's matter the raisa. Not the raisa. He said if the child is crying, he's considered a chayli. I have kasha number one. Let me be Messiah. I have kasha number one on that is that it's neged the Gemara Mefarashes and Shintas. A child crying is not considered chayli. That's nikudah number one, and I don't know how you get out of that. That's number one. Number two is, which is even more, is that the Kitzer and the Chai Adam, that they themselves say you can take a rattle and shake it in front of the baby, is not that they're allowing it. They say that it's the old story. If you hold the taisvis and whatever. Okay, so now if somebody sees someone doing it, no, a shviger can hold the taisvis. The shviger is darting, the shviger with the rattle and does, right? And she's making all types of nigunim and everything. Listeners, So she holds the taisvis. Not baki is manazeh. We're not baki in baby wise. Not baki in a lot of things. The shviger is not baki in a lot of zachen. Okay. All right, we'll continue tomorrow. Okay. Whoever doesn't have a chavrusa should come to me. Oh, whoever doesn't have a chavrusa should come to me.
Someone told me the Belzer Rebbe after Biyashiv, he said, take it to the kitchen once a week.